see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right. So today we are looking at something very important, and this is to the effect that we are not just managing bricks and mortar. We're actually managing assets, right? And as a facility manager, somebody said something that if you're always on the side of the hard work, not on the smart work, you're likely not to have so much money. And that's one of the things Mr. Paul will always emphasize, that leave the operational and try to be at the level where you can strategically influence decisions. That is where the money is. And of course, you see that a farmer who is on site at the farm does not make as much money as the person who is actually strategizing in the office and getting investors to invest and all of that. So today, as a facility manager and also real estate practitioners, one thing that we need to understand is the fact that we are not just managing bricks, but we are managing assets that can be money-making tool for the organization. And when we see it from that angle, it helps us to be able to maximize the reach of these assets. Because if you make more money for the investors, they will smile at you. And how they smile at you is what they give in return. So that's what we're going to look at today. So from bricks to balance sheet, how do you maximize the facility, the properties that you are managing to make the good out of it, the best out of it? If you have been doing good, we are looking at how you can do it the best way, right? And so you cannot also maximize something if you don't know the importance of that particular thing, if you don't know how much that particular thing can do. So property value, somebody said property value increases with time. Money most times decreases with time, but property increases with time. That's to tell you the importance of property. And for every FM today, you are managing on a property. Even if it's bare land, there is no structure in that particular place. That is still property. That is real estate. And so how can you maximize this real estate to the best of your employers? And if you have a business, maybe you are into real estate, how can you sell this real estate value, right? How can you unlock the benefits of these assets so that you are able to now make the investors to make more money? And like I said, they will smile at you, and that is more money for you. So property assets, they are more than the building. As we look at what does it do to a company, you begin to see, will begin to open your eyes to certain things that may not really make much sense before, and begin to see how you can also, not just the fact that, oh, bring money, want to renovate this part, bring money, want to do this particular maintenance, but how can you sell value so that this property is not just a, a money attracting asset, but a cash cow that the investors can also make money from, right? So that is what we want to look at as we unlock this particular topic. Bricks to balance sheets, unlocking the true value of property assets. So at the end of this class, I expect that you should be able to understand the strategic role of property assets in driving organizational value. And I'll be giving you some relatable examples that you can see around you. Also, you should be able to identify key methods to assess, measure, maximize property asset value. you should be able to also explore innovative strategies, right? We are in the world of technology, innovations. As a facility manager, property manager, you should be able to look at how can I innovate? Now people are innovating into the aspect of shortlets. So instead of renting for a long period and then you are trying to chase the people for rent, can we do shortlets and make more money? Although that has contributed more challenges too, because you now find that places in Lekki, Kate, you can hardly find a yearly rent. People will prefer to put it on shortlets. So these are innovations, right? Of course, they come with their challenges. Innovations, strategies. Can you look at a facility? I went to a facility, I think about 2 weeks ago, and I was sharing with the owner that, see, this particular facility you're underutilizing it. Can you create this hole in this wall? Can you break this part of the wall and let it it's facing the road? You can have a commercial center in this place instead of just leaving that space without use. Because for every space you leave without using it, there's a cost attached to it. But it's just that we don't look at that aspect. So also you should be able to recognize opportunity for cost optimization, risk reduction, and also sustainable growth. Sustainability is very key. And of course, apply this practical framework to your work and your business. Now, we want to have a shift from just physical assets. Oh, we have a tower, 10-story, whatever level, to financial performance. How do we move from these bricks and mortar and focus on the business impact? Let me share an example with you. At the early stage of my career, when I go for interviews and then I'm looking at your building so tall, well decorated, using an elevator to get to your office and all of that, that already gives me a perception of that particular law firm. And for you too, any business you enter into, one of the things you look at that will make you not to begin to negotiate the price is the building. So is it just brick and mortar, or does it have any business impact on that business? Also, we need to begin to view property as a strategic asset, right? Not just a cost center that, oh, this thing is always getting money from us. Is it an asset that we can tweak to be able to use it to our advantage, right? Especially a company that is trying to diversify or you want to scale. Can you advise your company? Because as an FM or a real estate practitioner, there are certain innovations and advice you need to give to your company that will help them to make more money. Can you give this advice? Because that will also make them to see that you're actually thinking strategically. Can we have a better toilet? As small as the toilet is, it can actually mean losing a deal or closing a deal. And of course, I can tell you a story about this. Just a company assessing, you know, getting feedback from people, and then people told them, oh, your toilet is this, is that, make it better, and all of that. Can that actually make a difference? Also, we should be able to link asset management to financial health and also ROI. When you manage an asset, does it actually give you more money? Or it can mean loss of money. Also, using data to measure your performance. As an FM, how do you use data to say, okay, last year in this commercial building, we rented this place for so amount. On maintenance, this is the amount we spent. On tax, regulatory compliance, on this particular thing. Can we use this data to say, okay, if we want to increase this rent, is this sustainable? Sometimes some property owners will reach out to me and say, increase the rent. You know, you have to look at data. What is the rent in that area, right? This particular property that we are using for this office, can we get something better from it? Also, you should be able to align facilities with organizational goals and growth strategies. Do you know sometimes maybe the company is thinking of scaling, getting better? Can you suggest a better building? Because sometimes it is not the fact that they have these big goals. Sometimes it may just be changing the offices or the office of the director, or maximizing the space and creating better space for the customers, or the lounge where customers can sit, and have a feel of whether the ocean. Some of these things, they are intangible things as we look at them, as we move on in this topic. Why property assets matters in today's business landscape? Property is very important, right? Number one is because of the cost factor. Real estate is very expensive, right? Uh, a 300 square meter land in Magodo is around 150 million. Now, if you want to build an office complex, a 300 square meter will not be sufficient, right? Real estate is expensive. Properties are expensive, right? So asset matters because you have to look at the cost factor. And usually it represents one of the huge or largest expenses that you will incur as a company. Look at UBA, their headquarters today, right? Sometimes some people will jokingly compare UBA headquarters and that of Union Bank, and then you look at Wema Bank headquarters is quite low compared to the floors that UBA has. That is one of the things. But of course, it took them a lot of money to get to that point. Value creation. A well-managed asset like property can drive productivity. Yes, you have better space, better alignment to your goals, efficiency, brand reputation. Like I said, brand reputation, your building says a lot about your brand reputation. When you want to do business with certain people, I walked into a law firm particular time and I said to myself that no matter how much they charge you in this law firm, you pay, because the experience is good, not just about the legal services, not just about what your company is offering as a company, the brand reputation that it brings. When you give them the invoice, they can't dispute it because the experience coming to your office is great and top notch. Strategic leverage. Property decisions directly influence business growth and market positioning. Sometimes some people, some companies, to position themselves, they will rather leave Songwater and come to Banana Island. I know a company that relocated from Ikeja because they started serving certain clients, right? And they felt that the kind of properties we are selling, then it was even around 40 million, 50 million. Of course, that was like 3-4 years ago. They felt that if we need to keep pitching to this level of clients that we are trying to attract, we cannot remain in Ikeja. I'm not saying Ikeja is bad, but for the kind of clients that they are targeting, they needed to move to Banana Island. Tell me, if you are invited to a conference in Songwater and you got another invitation to attend another conference in Ikeja, which one would you attend? You can answer the question, right? So also sustainability. Facilities shape an organization's environmental and social footprint. So this is also very important when you consider your property assets. And also on risk management, property assets oversight reduces financial, operational, and compliance risk. So you need to look at managing the risk, because That will have a great impact on your finance, on your operational costs, and also on compliance risk. I saw on social media there's a particular mall that is very close to where I stay. The mall was locked up. I saw it on social media yesterday while I was passing through the place. I said, "Oh, let me even check on this mall. Has it been opened?" It's not opened yet. That's like maybe after 1 week that I saw it on social media. Do you know how much they've lost? Because I've actually patronized them several times, and I know how many people walk into that place every day. So it's a lot. You need to consider that when you look at property assets, your compliance risk is also one of the risks you should consider so that you don't erect a very good property, but you're having issues with LAPCA and LASPA, LASRA, and all the La. It's very important as a facility manager. Now, let's look at the value of a property. Your property that you are managing has a lot of value. And most times, what we look at are the tangible value. Oh, the fact that you can walk in, there's a staircase, there's an elevator, there's a toilet, a restroom, there's a place where people can sit. Not just that, there are intangible value, things that you cannot touch. So when we say tangible, you can feel it, you can touch it. It has physical existence, right? You can see it, but there are certain values that you cannot see, you can't touch, you cannot feel it, but they actually contribute a lot. In fact, somebody said the intangible controls the tangible, right? As an FM, can you pitch this? As a real estate practitioner, can you advise your clients that there are a number of intangible value that this property is going to bring to us? So when you do your business case presentation, can you also incorporate the intangible value and tell them, of course, because sometimes as an FM, leave your chair as an FM and think like the customer, right? Think like the customer, like you are the one who wants to patronize this same business that you are managing. What is your experience like? What are the intangible that you can see? So tangible value, we talk about the physical asset, the land, the building, the infrastructure, the play area, all those things. We talk about the revenue impact, financial returns from lease, right? UBA, they are not the only ones occupying that tower. There are other businesses and they are getting rent from it. That is another thing you can tell your clients or your employer, right? Because you can build it and generate income, and that income can be used for maintenance, and part of it can also be used as ROI for the investors. Intangible value. I love this. Even more than the tangible, actually. Your brand reputation. Your office space determines how people perceive you. Thankfully, for the age of internet where people can do business online and people don't have to work in, some businesses can operate that way. But certain businesses, you still have to entertain working customers. The reputation is very important. I went to a restaurant and the person that accompanied me was like, why is their food so expensive? The person did not consider the intangible. The intangible is also as important as the tangible. In fact, sometimes it is even more important, especially for certain clients. There is a level of client that they don't look at what you are serving. They look at the experience, especially when you are serving, if you're an FM and you are serving diaspora clients, you are serving foreign clients, you are serving tourists. They are there, they want to enjoy Nigeria. It's not about the food. Sometimes it's about the environment, it's about the service, right? So it's about the ambience. So these things helps your reputation. Employee experience, right? How do the employees feel as an FM, the place you are managing? How do they feel? Do they feel comfortable? or you don't even feel like coming to the office. So it is this real estate asset that helps. How do they feel when they walking into that office? Do they feel like, oh, uh imagine, let me share an experience with you. There was a day I wanted to call at my wife's, office, and so I was at the gate. So I saw somebody that I knew, and I was greeting the person, and the person asked me, oh, what are you doing? I said, I'm waiting for my wife. So, oh, your wife works? I said, yes. No, I was actually happy to say yes. Because of the reputation, the environment of that particular workplace. That is reputation, your experience, even as an outsider, right? Customer perception, they are tied to this facility. So don't just look at the building as just, okay, a place, space for director, space for shareholder, space for employees, space for this, space for that. You must also look beyond the space. What is the reputation? Strategic advantage that it also give to you. Your location, like I said, a business had to move all the way from Songo, sorry, from Ikeja, they moved to Banana Island because of the perception. You may say, what is in Banana Island? Is it not the same legal? There's a perception that comes with that location, right? There are other locations that once you mention the location, your price will drop. Yes, that's just it because of the perception, the design, sustainability issues. Then also, there's a balanced view, which is your true asset what combines both physical presence and the business impact. How does it impact your business? If it does not impact your business, then there's no point, because it must bring a return on the asset. It must also bring a return on the investment. Remember, the directors that are watching over you, they are answerable to shareholders. And these shareholders, their own is let us share the money. So if you are not giving them the money, it's like you are not doing anything. Let's look at the financial, operational, and the strategic perspective of properties, real estate. The financial aspect of it, we look at the cost. Real estate costs a lot. To maintain it, you have to look at whether the building will be properly maximized, put to use. You don't just suggest a bigger building just for the sake of it. Can we put it to use? Can every square meter, right, matter? Then the ROI of that asset. What is the return on investment, right? This particular place that we have situated the office, are we getting ROI, right? Is it a place that gives you good ROI within a very short period? There are certain places that you locate your office, the land is not really appreciating as it ought to. Then the valuation of this asset, how much is it worth? We bought it 150 million 6 months ago. How much is it worth today after 6 months, right? The profitability of it, is it making the business to get more profit? Is it also helping? I know, I don't know if you have worked in Yakoyo, the restaurant before. Yes, it's a local restaurant with a touch of, Chicken Republic, and, a touch of a a foreign kind of restaurant. They had to brand it that way just to have a better perception from people. And you see that the kind of people that work in there, the place is neat. You don't see, the kind of dirty environment that you see in some of these restaurants. So, and of course, you pay for it. Now, another thing is you have to look at the operational perspective, right? Efficiency, is it efficient? That building, that real estate, is it efficient? The maintenance part of it, right? How much does it cost to maintain it? Good things are good, but it costs a lot. How much does it cost to put that property in good shape for you to retain the value? And over a period of time, which is the life cycle, right? How long do you want to use the building? Is it for a period of 50 years or 40 years? Can you maintain it? How much is it going to cost you? The life cycle cost, right? Day-to-day cost. Of course, you must also consider the regulatory guys, because if anything happens, these guys are going to come for you. Strategic perspective too. Does it align with the goal of the top management, the C-suite, right? Before you begin to pitch this kind of property, that okay, let's go for a better property, or this particular property, can we renovate it to this level so that we can maximize the use? Can you also consider the fact that does it align with their long-term goal? Because if it does not, they will always throw it away. That is it. Mr. Paul will always emphasize that you should think like them. If you don't think like them, they always throw it away. So you should know where are they going. If you know where they are going, then you tailor all your advice in that direction so that you are meeting their need at that point in time. Then integrated view. You need to balance financial savings. How much money does this property save us? If we are trying to save money, are we not sacrificing operational excellence such that we are not able to, a friend of mine, we were discussing it shortly before I, joined this webinar, was telling me that where he works, of course, it's a government establishment. And of course, we should also see governments becoming run like private um, enterprises, because that is what developed countries do. And that is why you can walk into a government establishment and you can see that level of excellence, right? He was telling me that where he was posted to work today, the computers are not enough. So he's just going there to just sit down. And after some time, he will leave. I hope we are not trying to balance financial savings, or trying to save costs, and then we are sacrificing operational excellence. And of course, strategic impacts. At the end of the day, where are we going to as an FM? So there has to be that alignment between your financial savings, operational excellence, and your strategic move. Then decision-making power. You need to use property asset as a leverage for competitiveness. This is very important. You don't say, oh, we don't need gigantic building. If your competitor, just like what I just shared with you, the Wema Bank building, the UB and Union Bank, people will post it online and say, look at, the level of Wema Bank's building. Competitiveness, right? Is it competitive? Will people decide to move from doing business with the company you are managing to another company because of that property, right? Also, we look at asset performance metrics. How do you measure the performance of real estate? Because real estate costs a lot, right? And we are saying that from just looking at the bricks, the long building, the high rise, can we look at the financial benefit of it, right? As an FM. And I've been able to highlight a number of things, so far. But how do you look at these assets and say, okay, they've even asked you to say, okay, measure the performance of these present assets and the possible performance of the asset you are pitching to us. Is it going to be better? What are the metrics? First, you look at occupancy. There are certain buildings today, they are not well occupied, not well utilized. You are wasting money because every square meter costs money. Mr. Paul will say that when you have a shop, you have to measure your rent against each of the items. So you're not just saying, oh, I sold item A, the one, item B. Each of those items that are on the shelf, there's a cost that should be attached to each, right? In the cost of operation, cost of, running that particular small shop. not to talk of big facilities that, you know, some FM on this call are actually managing, right? So you must be able to look at the occupancy. When you have a drop in occupancy rates, there's a problem. Take, for example, you are managing a residential building. One of the things you should guide against is not having occupants. You are managing a short let. In fact, most short let managers, their headache is usually occupancy rate, because that is what dictates how much they will make at the end of the month or the week or the year. So they are usually very alert to look at how can we make people to book this short let. If you're managing a residential apartment also, you should look at that too. Occupancy rate. If it's a commercial place, most times for commercial facility managers, they don't really put attention to this occupancy and utilization rate, because most times that, oh, this is the building, we own it, right? But you need to also look at it. What does it cost you? So you have to measure how effectively the space is being used, right? If it is underutilized, can we lease it out without compromising our operational excellence, right? Can we lease it out without compromising our brand reputation? So that I don't bring a company that will now make people to begin to complain and say, no, this and that. So also you look at cost per square foot or per square meter. That will also help you to say, okay, this is the cost per year. What's the square meter of this building divided by that cost? Or whatever way you want to arrive at that particular metric. But each of the square foot or square meter, there's a cost attached to it. That can help you to know whether the asset is actually performing well or not. The life cycle and maintenance cost, right? Assessing the long-term sustainability of the asset in terms of long-term, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. If we keep this building, how sustainable will it be? Are we going to get to a point where we cannot maintain the building? We have to even pack out of the building and lease it out, or perhaps sell the building, right? Sustainability is very important. You look at the life cycle cost. Is it something that you can go into, or the maintenance of it? And this is where FM comes in. Usually, we say that FM needs to be there, even from the design stage, right? So that there can be some level of input, because issues of maintenance costs can actually be amended or be dealt with at that point in time before you build it. As soon as you build, it becomes a major problem. Then, right? What is the financial contribution of this asset to the business performance, right? You look at that. And don't forget, when you're looking at that, you look at, of course, the rent. Oh, you're not paying rent. So how much rent would you have paid, right? You look at that, you measure it. The intangible, don't forget in your metrics, that how do people, have people been doing more business with us since we moved to this facility? Or you go and look at another facility that moved from, not so good facility to another one. Can you talk to the FM and say, can you track, did your profit increase within this period? Also, sustainability metrics, which is your energy efficiency, right? Are you able to manage energy better, right? Because if everything is good and sustainability is low, then it's not so good the performance. Let's look at market-based and business-aligned valuation approach. If you want to value a property, properties have their values, right? And as an FM, you must be able to look at a property and say, how can we come about the valuation of this asset? Because the asset you bought some years ago will not be the same amount, right? And that will also help you to manage well, because you know that this is what this property is worth. And that will help you to also be able to see the property not just as taking a lot of your cost. Because if you look at just a cost center alone, that will make you to perhaps begin to compromise and be having some deferred maintenance, which may impact on the value of that asset. So first is you look at the market-based valuation. What is the value compared to the value of the next neighbor's property? Or maybe he just even sold his land for so amount. Oh, so you know that the land is actually worth that price. So what of the building on it? How much does it take to build this kind of building today? Less depreciation value, right? Then look at income approach. How much are we getting from this property? The cash flow, right? Cash flow is different from there's another metric I'm trying to remember. Cash flow is what you get, the income that comes from the use of the property, right? There is, I'll remember, when I remember, I'll come back to that. But there's another valuation for the property itself, which is you can't even see it, you can't see it, but that is the embedded value. So if you say this property is worth 10 billion, right? The cash flow per year may not be more than 100 million, right? But the value of that property is 10 billion. I remember that particular. I'm trying to remember now. Now, another thing is cost approach. How do you calculate the value from construction to replacement cost minus depreciation? Cost approach helps you to be able to say, okay, if you want to build this building today, how much will it cost us? If you want to mention earlier also, then you can use business aligned valuation, measuring how your assets support your core operations. So you can use all or one or more of these valuation approach before you begin to say you need another building, or you can still stay here, or what you need is just maintenance or some renovations, right? Business aligned valuations, your growth as a business, your productivity. This is another way to value the property, not just how much the property brings, cash flow, right? It's not just, that's not the only value that the property brings. There are other things. Then you look at strategic fit. You have to link the property value to your long-term goal. Is this something, is this a property that I want to be known with long-term? Now, another thing that we'll be looking at is cost efficiency and life cycle management. I said real estate is not cheap. How do you optimize your operating cost with this property? We said, okay, yeah, we're saying that the property is not just break, it brings money to you also. Don't just look at it as, okay, something that takes money out of your pocket, but property also brings money into your pockets, you know, by way of equity, especially when you talk about the US, UK, where they do a lot of mortgage. They call it equity. But I'm trying to remember a particular word that applies more to Nigeria, right? So they deal more with equity, right? But these things you need to also look at. How can you manage costs? How can you manage costs while giving the best? So optimizing operating costs, operational costs. How do you optimize it? How do you reduce energy? We are still going to look at some technologies that can help you, you know, energy management technologies that can be of help. Your life cycle planning. How do you manage from acquisition to disposal? You know, acquisition can cost a lot. Lawyers will collect our percentage. The agents will collect theirs. You know, sometimes even to get a property takes a while. I was discussing with a particular person, and she said, I've been looking for this property for, you know, a church for a long time, and so I'm fine. I'm tired. You know, time costs. You know, all of these things, you know, comes with it. So life cycle planning, preventive maintenance can help you extend asset life. This we have learned it over and over again. It is better prevented than of course, reacted to. Then total cost of ownership. What is your long-term cost of owning this property? The money, the acquisition cost is part of it. Maintenance cost is part of it. All of these things are part of it, right? Not just your initial investment. The fact that you bought it for 100 billion does not mean that is the total cost. No. How much will it take from you? You know, a particular client wanted to buy a property in Ikate, and I love what he did. He wanted to buy an apartment, and they are telling him that when he checked the bill, obviously, uh, you'll be paying around 400,000 as uh for him, of course, operational expenses, lights, and some others, the service charge, and he felt that no, 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 I'm not going to do this. And truly, of course, where he's staying currently, I'm not sure he's paying up to 400,000. So to him, why will he be paying 400,000 naira, right, for a property that he wants to buy for so much? But again, if he is a business or a company, you will look at the intangible that, okay, more people will patronize me, so maybe I should just take it. So that's another side to it. Then sustainable investments. Do you balance this efficiency with durability and the impact? Does it have impact on the environment? Because while we consider all of these things, we must consider how sustainable it is. Then leverage technology. We can't say too much about this, right? Smart systems, data is very important. Technology will help you to manage your energy, your HVAC efficiency. It will help you to make good decisions because it is based on data. It will also help you to predict maintenance, right? Instead of reacting to it. So, and also user experience. Technology helps a lot. What's the name? Alexa or Google, all of these things is an experience. When you walk into a commercial center and the door opens on its own accord, is an experience, and that can actually contribute to the value that people put to the property. Sustainability issue is also very important. As you consider cost, consider carbon footprint reduction also. Consider social value, right? Is it safe for people? If it is not safe for people, then it is not good, because at the end of the day, you say you are managing costs, but people are losing their life. Remember what happened recently to, there's a particular big mall in Lekki Phase 1, right? So we must be able to make sure that people's lives are secure. Energy efficiency, as much as you do that, make sure you also consider sustainability. Lower consumption, you can use green technologies instead of things that will actually uh, have a negative impact on the environment. Then governance compliance. Does it also comply with regulatory compliance? Because these things are also part of the things. Because at the end of the day, if you want to get some grants, these are some of the things they will look at. Are you ESG compliant? Are you Is your company a company that is known for that? Then long-term resilience. Can that property be there? Can the design, be sustainable also, not just for a period? So that's why when you choose an architectural design, look at a design that is timeless, not a design that after some years you have to overhaul it. These are some of the things you need to consider. But properties are very essential and also lucrative. How do you identify hidden risk in property assets? Yes, there are a lot of money, when people talk about real estate, they talk about money alone, but there are a lot of risk. Regulatory compliance. I just told you a mall has been shut down, right? They are losing money every minute. Because I tell you, each time I walk into the mall, you find people there, right? Regulatory compliance is something that we need to uh, uh, really take care of. And, as an organization, Max-Migold, and also through the alumni, through the Fields conference, I hope everyone on this call is coming. We'll also be looking at how we can help FM facility managers to in the area of regulatory compliance, because if the facility is shut down, you can't manage anything. Also, there are hidden risks in deferred maintenance. Of course, we know that when you don't do it now, you do it later, it comes with a cost. Market volatility, there's shift in demand, right? Today, people are looking for short leg. Tomorrow, it may shift. Those days, people are looking for shops, offices, commercial centers. But today, it has shifted. People are looking for, more affordable places, workspaces, and all of that. Environmental issues, flooding issues. If you're in Lagos, you understand that. And some other states too, there are environmental issues. Operational inefficiencies, underutilizing the space, outdated systems, and all of these things. How can you turn these real estate assets to a resilient portfolio? You have to optimize it. You have to align it with your business expansion. If you are expanding big, look at the picture here. High rise is different from bungalow. They can't serve the same purpose, right? Flexible workspaces too. There are some things you can put into it, right? You may not really need a large office. Maybe it's a flexible workspace, right? Or you can incorporate a flexible workspace within the facility. People come, do 1 hour, they pay for it, have a meeting, they pay for it, and you make money from that. Revenue generation, right? Unlock new income streams through leasing partnership. I mentioned this. There's sustainability advantage too. Use green. Yes, it has been said that green is less expensive long term, right? The resilience planning. Design your assets to withstand economic, environmental, and operational shock. Will it also withstand the risk in your environment? If you have area boys around the environment, you don't build glass house as the entrance. You know what happened during NSAS? People started doing, iron, because, they were doing glasses, but then it was easy for people to access the shop and steal those things. So as an FM, can you also look at what are the best practices? So there are some metrics you need to incorporate, some performance indicators that can help you. This asset, what are the performance indicators that can help me know whether it's performing well, right? So that the accountant will not always see you as somebody who always collect money but doesn't bring money. Then also, how can you integrate your plan into the budget, into the forecasting, life cycle planning of your facility? Also, transparent reporting, common dashboard can also help for cost, so that you can see costs from different areas and then you can make an informed decision. Strategic alignment, you must align with the business goal. I've mentioned this severally, so that investors, they will oil your palm also. Cross-functional collaboration, regular communication will also help between a facility manager and the accountant. Very important. So as we conclude, property assets are not just bricks. They're also good to drive the business. And if the business is making profits, FM will make profit too. FM will go on with bonuses. FM will be able to, drive good cars too. And also, you must be able to align facility to financial metrics. What's this asset bringing? You should consider data, technology, smart system to transform your assets. Sometimes it's just about changing some switches. It's just about introducing certain lights, right? Lighting can change a lot, and the color of your paint, it can change a lot within the space that you have currently. I can tell you that for free. Just introducing certain lighting, and customers will come and like, wow, wow. That can change a lot sometimes. But then you have to look at energy efficiency of that. Sustainability is also very important as you consider your property portfolios. When you turn bricks into balance sheets, it shows that you are an FM or a real estate practitioner that is thinking forward, that is also thinking about profitability. And when you think about profitability, it will help you to be the friend of the investors, and they will also be your friend in terms of what they give to you. And if you run your own business, it will help you to be able to make more money from that particular business. I hope I've been able to communicate value. I hand over to the moderator. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, thank you so much, Barrister Samuel, for today taking us through. The floor is open now for us to ask any questions or anything that might be that we might need clearance on. So the floor is open to us all now. Okay, I'm not sure. I think we all got the message loud and clear from bricks to balance sheets, how to get proper value for our asset. Until next week, we'll come again with another wonderful topic on lunch hour. Don't forget to join us next week, Thursday, and also to the Facility Innovative conference coming up in 10 days' time. Please let us endeavor to join and invite our loved ones also too. Thank you for joining us today, and we see you again next week. Have a wonderful day all.